Alone in the Dark, written by G.D. Sapansky, narrated by G.D. Sapansky. Chapter 1. Awakening. A steady beeping filled her subconscious mind. It cut through the darkness, providing a comforting rhythm, anchoring her to reality. Without warning, it stopped, jarring her back to consciousness like a bucket of ice water thrown in her face. Her eyes snapped open, pupils burning as her eyes adjusted to the dim light. As her vision cleared, she made out strange shadows surrounding her bed, looming like silent sentinels in a room shrouded in blackness. Slivers of murky yellow light leaked through the slits between the blackout curtains, casting bizarre patterns across the walls. Her head throbbed, sending shockwaves of pain through her skull, and her lungs burned with every breath. The humid air hung thick, permeated by the metallic scent of blood and rot, barely masked by a faint antiseptic smell. It reeked of death. She recognized it as a typical hospital room, though she had no clue where. The more she pondered her predicament, the more alarming it became. She couldn't remember her name. Who was she? Why was she here? Nothing made sense, as if she were trying to assemble a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Tendrils of pain shot through her body like lightning as she tried to pull herself into a sitting position. Her muscles felt like wet noodles, weak and unresponsive. When had she last walked? Days? Weeks? Shapes emerged from the gloom as her eyes adjusted to the darkness. The outline of abandoned medical equipment, a privacy curtain hanging askew, the hard edges of her hospital bed with its rails raised like prison bars. A light flickered somewhere in the hallway, illuminating medical charts with illegible scribbles and empty IV bags swinging from their hooks. Names floated through her mind like autumn leaves on a breeze. Sarah? Jennifer? Rebecca? Emily? But none of them sounded familiar. Her brain wiped clean, like a hard drive stripped of its operating system, leaving only fragments of data with no context. She couldn't connect the pieces. Something crashed in the distance, metal clanging on tile. A low, guttural moan followed, echoing off the walls. The inhuman sound made her skin crawl, and the fine hairs on her arms stood at attention. Someone, or something, roamed the halls. Adrenaline surged through her body, shocking her system. An electric current through her nerves. She gripped the cold metal bed rail, knuckles whitening with the effort, as she pulled herself into a sitting position. It took all her strength. The room spun like a tilt-a-whirl, forcing her to slam her eyes shut until the vertigo passed. Dried sweat had turned her hospital gown stiff as cardboard. It felt like burlap against her sensitive skin, chafing with every movement. As the dizziness subsided, she swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her knees buckled when her bare feet hit the icy linoleum floor. A metal tray clattered to the floor as she caught herself on the rolling bedside table. Bandage wrappers, plastic cups, and unidentifiable medical detritus scattered across the floor, adding to the growing mess. The distant moaning stopped, like a record player needle being lifted off the vinyl. Whatever roamed the hallways had heard her. Silence seemed to drag on forever. The quiet scared her more than the noise. It showed they had intelligence. She hoped they had given up. Then the shuffling, dragging footsteps started again. They moved with coordination toward her room. Their irregular rhythm suggested a mutated monster of some sort. She held her breath, listening, willing the footsteps to stop, to change direction, to be a figment of her imagination. Her heart pounded against her ribs with such force she feared it might crack bone. The flickering light in the hallway cast monstrous shadows across her doorway. Each terrifying outline looked like a predator poised to pounce, ready to tear her apart. The relentless shuffling footsteps drew closer, accompanied by a wet, labored breathing. An inhuman sound. Her pulse raced as she searched for an escape route. There had to be a way out that didn't involve confronting whatever lurked in the hallway. She stumbled to the window, pulling back the heavy curtains. revealing a view of an abandoned parking lot 5 stories below. For either patient safety or energy efficiency, somebody had sealed the windows shut. A tamper-proof lock with no way to open it. Even if she broke the glass, jumping from the 5th floor would mean certain death. Her broken body beyond repair on the unforgiving asphalt below. Not an option. The hinges of the bathroom door groaned in protest as she pushed it open, the sound amplified in the tense silence. She found a tiny space with no escape routes. Just a toilet, sink, and shower stall. Not a place to hide. She had to run into the same hallway from where the ominous noises came from. Not a place she wanted to go, but survival rarely offered comfortable choices. Her heart stuck in her throat as she peered around the doorframe. The corridor stretched in both directions, lit by the flashing fluorescent lights. To her left, total darkness and unknown dangers hiding in the dark. To her right, she glimpsed salvation. A supply closet. Its door cracked open, called to her. Not the best, or even a comfortable hiding place, but the small room sat only 3 short steps away from her. Salvation. From somewhere down the left corridor, groaning and shuffling sounded. Something continued toward her, even if she couldn't see them. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves before entering the hallway. Her bare feet stuck in some dark, tacky fluid on the floor. No time to consider what she stepped in. The metallic smell confirmed her thoughts. Each step produced a slight sucking sound as she lifted her foot, causing her to wince. The noise made her cringe, booming like thunder in the silent ward. She kept her eyes focused ahead. Multiple moaning voices combined into a choir of the damned. Their horrible chorus sounded both hungry and angry. Hangry. Her mind supplied the inappropriate humor at an inconvenient time. She didn't know how she knew this term, but the thought felt correct. A piece of memory swirling through the traumatized brain. The first figure materialized out of the gloom, 15 feet away. It turned the corner in the hallway with jerky, uncoordinated movements, causing it to bounce off the walls. He looked like a combination of a drunk and a victim of a fatal plane crash, its head hanging at an unnatural angle at the end of a broken neck. An arm bent backward at the elbow, bones protruding through gray, molted skin. Nobody who looked like that should still be walking around. Fear froze her in front of the open closet door. More dark shadows followed the first, stumbling toward her. Their collective stench turned her stomach. Her heart raced and her legs turned to jelly, threatening to collapse beneath her. She forced her body to move, summoning her will to survive, slipping into the closet before they detected her. Something told her that these things were dangerous. The soft click from easing the door closed, sounding like a gunshot in her heightened sense. Her eyes lined up with the door's vent. The small gap between the slats provided a front row view of the grotesque procession of the dead. 5 monsters shuffled past, all with ashen gray skin pulled tight over protruding bones, their collection of fatal wounds displayed like macabre trophies. The Grand Marshal of the parade wore a security guard's uniform, torn and stained beyond recognition. A woman followed, wearing bloodied, ripped scrubs. Her name tag pinned to the chest pocket, the name unreadable. The last 3 shuffled behind like a marching band. They wore patient gowns like hers, the thin fabric doing little to conceal their horrific injuries. Each moved with jerky, unnatural motions, like broken puppets on tangled strings. The stench of rot and decay followed them, like roadkill on an oppressive summer day, amplified 100-fold. She covered her nose and mouth to stop the gagging on the bile burning the back of her throat. Their wet, ragged moans sounded like someone trying to breathe underwater. They collided with each other and the walls, knocking over abandoned hospital equipment like a drunken mob. The monsters possessed no coordination or awareness of their surroundings, moving with some primitive instinct. It only took a few minutes for the macabre parade to pass by her hiding spot, but it felt like days. She focused on taking slow, deep breaths to avoid hyperventilating and giving away her position. The sound of the zombies, for what else could they be, faded as they shuffled down the corridor, their moans growing fainter until they disappeared. Her breathing steadied, and her heart rate returned to normal as the silence stretched on. Still she waited, counting the seconds in her head before daring to move. She explored the contents of the shelves, lining the walls of the small closet, looking for something useful. Her fingers brushed past boxes of latex gloves, packages of gauze, and other medical supplies she had difficulty identifying by touch alone. Not being able to recognize these items made her doubt her medical knowledge. Of course, she remembered little of anything. About the time she was ready to give up, her fingers touched a metallic cylindrical object, a flashlight. She pointed the beam down to avoid discovery, illuminating a small circle at her feet. The maintenance closet contained a collection of obsolete medical supplies, cleaning products, and other forgotten items. A thick layer of dust covered the horizontal surfaces. Her intrusion into this forgotten realm recorded in the grime left behind from total neglect. What had she expected? A small cardboard box sat on the far end of the shelf. Its label written in faded black marker caught her eye. Subject 13's belongings. The writing looked familiar for some reason she couldn't explain. Her hands trembled as they reached for the box against her will. Hope and fear warred within her, wondering about the contents. Would she find identification? A phone? Or something explaining why she ended up here at the end of the world? She hoped to find the key to her identity, or at least something useful for survival. A shaky breath rushed out of her as she opened the box. Inside, she found only one item. The yellow beam of her flashlight reflected off the heart-shaped locket, its golden surface dulled with age, but still beautiful. She ran her thumb over its smooth surface, feeling its familiar contours. The clasp showed signs of being opened countless times, worn from repeated use. A favorite piece of jewelry to its owner. Her fingers trembled as she pressed the tiny locking mechanism. A faded photograph of a young girl, maybe 12 years old, with long dark hair cascading over her shoulders and a gap-toothed smile staring back at her. A tween possessing an awkward, innocent beauty. The girl's warm brown eyes and dark shade of her hair matched hers. A shiver ran down her spine as she looked at her younger self. She rested the flashlight on the shelf to wipe the tears from her eyes. The change in lighting revealed the engraving in the metal opposite the photo. To Emma, love Mom. The familiar words triggered a powerful memory. It flashed through her mind like it played on an IMAX screen with full surround sound. Bright sunshine on an early summer's day, the smell of fresh-cut grass tickling her nose, a woman's gentle voice calling her name. Emma, sweetheart, hold still so we can try your necklace on. It's your birthday present. Tender hands fastening the clasp around her neck, the comforting weight of the locket, her excitement from wearing it to school the next day. Her 13th birthday, one of her last peaceful days, before what? The memory refused to continue, shattering into millions of pieces. Nobody could reassemble. She tried to hold on, but the memory slipped away like water through her fingers. It left behind a certainty that this locket belonged to her. Emma, the girl from the photograph, was her. Her hand shook as she raised the locket, fastening it around her neck. The familiar weight against her collarbone providing comfort in this nightmare world. She had found one answer, her name. A start to her quest to figure out why she was alone in this hospital overrun with the walking dead. She'd find the answer and then save herself. But first, she had to find a way out of this hell. Get past those monsters and into whatever remained of civilization, if anything remained outside of these walls.